Do you have any extension cords that look like this? Melted on the end, pulled away from the outer sheathing, in need of replacement? Yeah, you can just tape it up and keep using it if you want. And it looks like that's what I did for a little while. But it comes a time when you need to actually replace this end and do it right. So I'm going to show you how I do that. So I always keep a couple of spare replacement ends kicking around because you just never know when you're going to need them. I need the female end, so that's the one we're going to deal with today. I'm going to need a couple different screwdrivers, probably depending on the plug, probably a yellow Robertson or square drive, a green square drive or Robertson, maybe a flat, and some wire strippers. So this one's been abused for a while. You can see it's pretty ratty, and it overheated at one time. I don't know what that issue was. But I'm just going to cut that off well back of all this old stuff, because sometimes the wires are actually broken or damaged right there because they've been exposed, obviously. So just get back to where we're inside the old sheathing really well. And I'm going to take just a utility knife, and I want to strip off this outer sheathing that's on the wire, about an inch back usually. Works okay. So just lightly, I'm just scoring it around the whole perimeter. And then usually you can basically rip that off. There's going to be this white fiber filler stuff. I don't know what that's for, but we're going to get rid of it out of this very end. The whole time you're doing all this, you're trying not to cut through the rubber shielding on any of those wires. Okay, so we got all that out of the way. Let's open this up and see, make sure we're going to have enough here. So there's different types, but they all kind of work pretty much the same. You're usually going to have three screws holding it basically together. And this should all pull apart. One of the first things you want to do is get this on this cord, because if you forget to do that and you get that whole other end all wired on and then realize you didn't slip this on the cord, you got to take that all apart again. So there's usually a bit of a clamping mechanism back here that squeezes down on there. I just had to open it up a bit just so I could get that on and back out of our way. So what's going to happen is this is going to obviously comes through this cover, and inside here we're going to strip and separate these wires, and they're going to hook to the different screws here. We've got a white screw for the white, or it's not really white, it's silver screw for the white wire, a green screw for the green wire, which is the ground, and then there'll be a brass or gold colored screw, will always be the black. Okay, so we just need to make sure we're going to have enough wire that once we get it in there, we have enough extension there, and I think we're going to be all right. I'll maybe just strip just a little bit extra off of that, just so the wires are a little more flexible, and yet we still want them to be inside of this cover back here. And even that white stuff will be all right. This little short bit will be out of our way. So we've got the screws back in here. This particular one, I don't know if you can see that. So this one, there's the screw. I'll put it here. There's the screw, and then there's a little plate above the screw. So what happens is when you tighten the screw, that plate is going to squeeze up against the wire that's stuck in here. So we don't actually have to wrap the wire around the actual screw body itself on this one, because it's got this little clamp inside of there. So that's going to make it easier for us. So we'll just separate our wires, and I'm just going to gauge it here. I need about a ½ an inch stripped off. This is a 14 gauge cord, I'm sure. Most times it'll be stamped right on your cord, but I'm pretty sure this is 14 gauge. So I'm just using the 14 gauge stripping position there. I'm stripping about a ½ inch or so off of each of these wires. Now obviously I don't have the other end of this plugged into the wall or anything, just for some safety advice. Make sure your cord's not powered up. Okay, once you strip that, just take, because these are braided, like braid individual pieces of copper. So we just want to give them a twist just to make it a little more solid. Stranded pieces of copper, that's probably the right term. And like I said, I want to do black into the brass screw, so I need to kind of flip this down so that little little clamp plate drops open so that I can get this in. Stick that in there. We're just going to snug that up, and I'll re-snug them all once I'm done. So I'm just going to work my way around. So same thing, get that. I need it to drop open a little further. I don't know if you're really able to see what I'm doing here, but I think you get the idea. Get those wires all tucked right in there nice. And it is awkward when you only have this much strip back, but if you get too much strip back, then these are going to be showing outside of this cover at the back again, and that's what you had when you started, so we're trying to fix that problem. Get the ground open. There we go. Okay, so snug these all up, just double check them. Okay, so you can see we've got the insulation that's on the individual wires right inside of this housing that's on the back. There's no copper exposed back here, and that's the way you preferably would like to have it. There's no chance of anything shorting that way. Okay, so we've got that all in there. Now I can bring this part up to the front, and normally, where is it? Yeah, right here. If you look here inside, there's kind of a notch in the top, right there. That corresponds to this part over here on the other end. So basically it only goes together one way. Get that all lined up, slid together, and we can snug up these screws. Now these screws are just threading into plastic or vinyl or whatever this thing's made out of, so you can't torque them right up. You'll see they'll go in, they're pretty coarse threads, so they're going to go in pretty quickly. And once it bottoms out, that's good. Don't try to monkey grip it right closed. That's all it'll take, or you'll just end up stripping it out. So we've got that, but now we want to do up this back clamp, because that back clamp is what kind of holds the two pieces together the best. We're not just relying on those connections I just did there. This will squeeze on the cord. So if somebody trips on the cord or for whatever reason pulls it apart by the cord to unplug it, they aren't just pulling on those three little wires we have up front there. It's actually clamped around the whole thing. Same thing, those screws are just threading into the plastic itself, so again, you don't want to go too crazy with it. And you can see how it's squeezing in there nice, but yet it's not going to damage the cord. I think we're pretty good there. Yeah. So simple enough to do. One of these ends around here, I don't know, might be $5, and this is a pretty decent quality end. There are cheaper ends, but you can actually get ends. If you notice, this end here actually lights up when you've got power. You can actually get replacement ends that do that, but I wasn't going to spend $19 for a cord end, so I wasn't that worried whether it lit up or not. So now you've got a perfectly good usable cord again, and not this piece of garbage that's not really that safe. So hopefully you found that video informative and easy to follow, and we have lots of other videos on our channel if you want to check that out. And once you're in there, you hopefully want to subscribe, or you can subscribe right now. You can hit the subscribe button below there, click the icon for the bell so you can set up notifications, and then you'll know every time we put something online. The other thing to do, smash the like button. That's that thumbs up right there. Hit it. Thanks. This is where I do it 7 times to try to get the same thing I did the first time. Do you have any cords that look like this and are needed? See?
Yeah.
Can we rewind and just see where I left off, and we'll just leave that intro? So I'm going to use the 14 gauge stripper hole. I didn't say stripper pole, that was stripper hole. Okay, we better not use that.